Hey, it's Nathan Williams with Crazy Marketing. In this video, we're going to talk about setting up rules in our Facebook ads account. And so let's just go ahead and get straight into it. Now, if you don't know, a rule is like a set of instructions that you give to Facebook where if certain criteria is met, then Facebook does something with it. So for example, you could set up a criteria where if an ad set reaches a frequency of 3 or greater, well then you want Facebook to send you an email to let you know that, hey, your frequency is getting kind of high over here. You might want to come take a look. Or you can set it up so it kind of automates the process. So if the frequency gets to 3, you can go ahead and decrease your budget. Or if your frequency isn't getting high enough, you could increase your budget. Alternatively, you could turn on or off campaigns. And so we're going to go through the process here of setting up a rule or two so you can see how it all works. So here we are in our ads account, and you could go ahead and select a campaign or an ad set or an ad that you'd like to apply the rule to. And you can apply the rule to multiple campaigns, ad sets, and ads. So you can use the same rule like anywhere in your account. But for the sake of my example, I'm going to go ahead and select right here. And then I'm going to select all of the ad sets in this particular campaign. And then I'm going to come over to rules here, and we have a few different options. So we can create a new rule. We could also apply an existing rule. So if you've already created a rule and you want to go ahead and apply it to this ad set or ads or campaign, you could go ahead and apply an existing rule. Also, you could go ahead and manage rules so you can see what rules have you created, or you can delete them or rename them or edit them or whatever else. For the time being, we're going to go ahead and create a new rule. And I'm going to go ahead and create a rule, again, that watches for frequency. So I'll say frequency greater than 3. And then we select what we want to go ahead and apply the rule to. Now I selected 4 ad sets, so that's what the default setting is. We could also go ahead and apply it to all active ads in the 4 ad sets. So you can select that option, or we could do all active campaigns, all active ad sets, or all active ads. So basically your entire account, right? I'm going to apply it just to this 4 ad sets because that's what I want to go ahead and watch. And then we go ahead and we select our action. So there's a bunch of different options in here. So we could turn off ad sets, turn on ad sets, send notification only. We could also increase the daily budget by, decrease the daily budget by, increase lifetime budget, decrease lifetime budget, scale daily budget, scale lifetime budget, or adjust manual bid and increase bid by, decrease bid by, scale bid by target field. And so there's a lot of different options and things to play with. My recommendation is to start with the notification only, so that way you can make sure that your rule is firing like you think it will, because if you set this up incorrectly and you have it like increasing your budget by, 20% or something like that, and it starts firing off like crazy and you go from like $10 a day to $1,000 a day, like that might not be a good day for you. So I recommend starting with notifications only so you can make sure that your rule works. And then if you want to experiment with turning on or off things or increasing or decreasing budgets, then go ahead and do it. But start with notification only to make sure it works, and then you can start experimenting with other options. So then we get into our conditions or criteria, and there's a bunch of options in here as well. So we have the most common options like spent, so how much you spent, lifetime spent, frequency, which is what we're going to do in our example here, number of results, cost per result. Of course, this is a popular one. So if you want to get a lead for $2 and the cost per lead is only $1, well then you might want to go ahead and increase your budget. Or if your cost per lead is $3 and you want it to be $2, well then you might start decreasing your budget or something like that. So cost per result's a very common one, obviously. Mobile app installs, cost per mobile app install, ROAS stuff, and then we get into like settings and time and all sorts of other stuff. So ton of different options in here. You could go ahead and click around. I'm going to go with the frequency one for my particular example here. And then we have to select the next field in here, so is greater than, but we also have is smaller than, is between, is not between. So I'm going to go with is greater than 3 right here because I want to watch for frequency greater than 3. And then we have this little menu right here, so we can apply additional options to this particular set of criteria or condition. So you can select a different object level, so ad set, or campaign level, and then time range. So if you want to look back a different amount of time for this particular condition, you could go ahead and do that. Now I'm going to leave it at default because, and of course you could adjust this to suit your particular needs. I'm going to go ahead and leave it at default. I'm creating a pretty simple rule, but as you can likely tell, you can get pretty complex with these rules and do a whole bunch of cool stuff if you want to. And then I'm just going to go ahead and click apply real quick. Now if I want to add multiple conditions, I can hit this plus button and add another condition if I want to. Now note, all these conditions that you add here are an AND statement, so it has to match all of the following. So it has to be frequency greater than 3 and cost per result greater than 5, or whatever you set this next condition to be. So it has to match all of them for this particular rule to trigger and fire off. So that's something to be aware of. This is an all statement, which means all of your conditions have to match in order for the rule to go ahead and work. All right, so coming on down here, we have time range, and real quick, if you didn't notice, there's this little eye right here. So if you hover over it, it tells you or gives you a little description or definition of what this means. So time range in this case is the number of days worth of data you'd like to apply your rule to. So in my particular case, I want to look back about 7 days. I want to look back a week, make sure I'm not overwhelming somebody within that week time with my ads by having them have a frequency greater than 3. And more than likely, you do want a narrower time frame. Probably 7 days is as far back as you probably want to go in most cases, because if you go to like lifetime or something like that, like you're probably just pulling in way too much data. And as Facebook optimizes your campaigns, ad sets and ads and all that stuff, like what happened 3 months ago probably isn't really relevant to what's happening within the last 7 days. So more than likely with your time range, 7 days is long enough. Now maybe you have an instance where you need it longer, in which case hopefully you think it through and understand why you might want to do a lifetime time range or something like that. But if you go too far back, like what's happening now isn't going to be relevant to what happened, months ago when you launched your ad or whatever it might be. So just want to put that out there real quick. Attribution window, I recommend leaving the account default. You set it when you set up your ad sets as well, so I would leave it at the default, but if you know about attribution and want to play with it, you could go ahead and customize it. Schedule, so this is how frequently you want the rule to run continuously. So it runs about every 30 minutes and it checks if whatever criteria or conditions are met. You could also run it daily, so if you just want to check it, first thing in the morning, but then you could go ahead and run it daily, or you could go ahead and set up a custom schedule of when you want it to go off. Now note, all times are in Pacific time, if I could speak properly. So that's one thing to note. You might have to adjust how your time frames are set up if you're not in the Pacific time zone, right? So just wanted to point that out real quick. I'm going to go ahead and run it continuously. And then we have our notification settings, because I selected for notification only. And we got on Facebook, so I'll receive a notification on Facebook. And I can set it up so I'm also receiving an email when the conditions are met. And I want to go ahead and receive it in both places so that way I don't miss it. And then what I'd go ahead and do is I'd go ahead and hit this create button. And now it says we can go over here to manage rules to review or edit this rule. So we can come over to manage rules. And now I see all the rules I've created, so I could go ahead and click on it and it pops up this window here. So if I'm like, okay, this rule works, I want to go ahead now and I want to adjust my budget. So in this case, I might want to decrease it by 10% or something like that if my frequency becomes greater than 3. And then it asks us to set the minimum daily budget floor, so that way it doesn't, go to 0 or something like that. So I'll just say $1 for this example here. I'll go ahead and save rule. And so just like that, I've updated my rule. Now if I want to apply this rule to other ad sets I have running, I can come back up here to my menu, go into my ads manager, dive into another campaign, select the ad sets I want to apply the rule to, come up to rules, apply an existing rule, and then I can select my rule that I just created right here and hit apply. And it basically just gets me to like double check that I have everything set up how I want it set up. And I'll be like, oh, actually, I don't want to go ahead and adjust my budget. Instead, I just want to send a notification only. And then I'll come down here and save rule. And that updates the rule across the board. So it updated the rule for the other ad sets as well. So that's my rule now, is send a notification instead of edit the budget. And that is pretty much it for rules. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate to ask them down below. Here to help you out. If you found this video helpful, I appreciate any sorts of likes, comments, subscribes, anything like that. And I hope you have a great rest of the day.